my name is Ella, and guess what time it is? It's cookie time! This year I'm planning on selling 200 boxes or more. Please help supporting my troop by buying 1 boxes or maybe even 2 if you want to. My troop is planning on going on an exciting trip and helping my community. Please help support me by buying 1 box or more. Bye!
What's up, everyone? Welcome to This Day in Philly Sports History for January 18th, 2025. I'm your host, Jim Montgomery. Welcome to a Saturday edition of the podcast, NFC Divisional Playoff Weekend. We are literally in the calm before the storm. More on that in a minute, but let's take care of some housekeeping. As you heard, please help support Ella's Girl Scout troops. Buy the cookies. The link is in the description. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. But good stuff over there. They do a lot of good things for the community. They're trying to work on making this awesome camping trip for the girls. So go ahead, buy the cookies. You're going to do it anyway. Why not buy them from Ella? Who cares about Debbie and her granddaughter at the office? Take care of Ella and buy the cookies. Be sure to follow me on social media. Jimbo_Mont on Twitter and TikTok, at Philly Jimbo on Instagram. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, Jimbo_Mont. Continue to spread the word as we continue to grow this thing. Still not too late to listen to the KYW feature about me being the fan of the week. Pretty cool story of our season ticket group. And then check out our friends over at the On Pattison newsletter. It gets delivered right to your inbox. Some great insights, some great stories, great articles. We're featured in there somewhat regularly each week. So go subscribe to them as well. And I do apologize for my voice. As fate would have it, we've been healthy, knock on wood, for most of 2020, or for pretty much all of 2024. 2025's here, and unfortunately I got a cold. Still not going to stop me from going to that game. I will take all kinds of good drugs, legal drugs, to make sure that I am good to go for the game tomorrow. But more on the game later in the show. Flyers in action this afternoon up in Jersey to take on the Devils. They are looking for points in their 5th straight game. Hopefully they can keep that momentum rolling as they're slowly creeping into the playoff picture. Be a pretty cool thing for the Flyers to make the playoffs, especially with the way the Sixers are going. They are out in Indiana tonight. No Joel. Apparently the knee is still an issue. Attempted an on-court workout the other day. The sprained foot now is fine, the foot he sprained in Boston on Christmas, but his left knee swelled up again. He is out 7 to 10 days, and I think what's more concerning about that is the foot was fine, and from not, I guess, playing, that's where the knee swelled up, so I'm not sure what that means. It seriously might be time to just shut him down for the season and hope for the best when it comes for the lottery. But the way this season has gone for the Sixers, could totally see them doing that, setting up everything right, and then getting the 7th pick and losing it to the Thunder. But just when you think it's safe to root for the Sixers again, at this point, you just got to laugh. I mean, I don't know if this is penance for the whole process error or what, but man, it's just laughable, literally laughable at this point. And as we've been saying all week, they've become irrelevant. And that's the worst thing you can be, is just become irrelevant. But Sixers, Pacers tonight could get ugly. All right, let's go on to the Eagles, though. Let's see what we got going on here. And let's start with a recap of yesterday's question of the day. I asked you, what worries you the most? 38% of you said it was Kellen Moore going on all the interviews yesterday and today. Thank you, as always, for participating in the question of the day. There will be another one later in the show, but a little bit more on that. I did see they asked Nick Sirianni about it, and for the most part, he said, look, the work is done. And kind of what I thought at this point, that the game plan's already in place, all the preparation. He was in all the team meetings yesterday, and there is some time built in Friday afternoons and Saturdays. They'll have a walkthrough today, but he's not missing anything Eagles related, which is good. And I don't know if that is sort of the protocol in the NFL when things like this happen, whether this is Nick Sirianni realizing what happened with Jonathan Gannon. But he has full trust in Kellen Moore that he's 100% focused. And look, it happens all the time for teams. And as crazy and as ridiculous as it is, I've gone on record and saying I think the NFL needs to even the playing field out somewhat. I think it does come down to the individual person and just your integrity. And the fact that Kellen Moore is not missing any time planning for this game, the fact that all of the work for the most part was done. I mean, it is what it is. I'm okay with it. Yes, there is some concern that where his focus is, but God forbid if they do lose, I think all of a sudden now there's the built-in excuse. But depending on how things go, I don't know if it would be on Kellen Moore. I'm fine with, like I said, I'm fine with it. It's kind of like you don't expect the coaches to work 24 hours anyway. And what I do, I mean, and I know there's some people out there listening that might be surprised to hear this that I work with, but I've gone on plenty of interviews over the course of my 10 years at my current job and has not impacted my work and made sure I did it during times that were my time and whatever. So it is possible. I know a lot of people are saying, oh, if you're already interviewing, you've already got one foot out the door. Not necessarily. It's always good to explore what's out there, but you can do it while still being able to maintain your focus on your current job. Now, for those listening out there that I do work with, haven't been on an interview in probably like 4 years, so don't worry about that. But it is possible to do both. I don't necessarily see it as being an issue. I'm more worried about, to be honest, the weather. And the snow sometimes is the great equalizer. I think the Eagles are built for the weather with the offensive line and the reliance on Saquon Barkley and the running game. I'm going to play amateur meteorologist and pretty much probably get it just about as right as the meteorologists do. But I did check multiple different places. I tend to rely on Channel 10, but I went and checked Channel 6, AccuWeather, Channel Fox 29. I went to the National Weather Service. I went to weather.com, all the different places. And it does seem that it's one of those weird storms that a couple miles either way is going to impact the amount of snow. It does seem that most of the places are predicting 3 to 5 inches of snow. It's going to start late morning, early afternoon, and the heavy stuff is supposed to start right around game time, which I think is a key part of this, because if you remember the Snow Bowl back in 2013, that was obviously an unexpected snow, but it started snowing well before game time. Like, it was a couple hours before game time. We had already had a couple inches. It's going to start a couple hours before game time, but they're saying this heavy stuff isn't going to start until the game. So that's going to be key for keeping the field where it needs to be. So you might not necessarily see accumulations until closer to like halftime and the second half. So that it's even more important, and we'll get more into the 3 keys tomorrow for the Eagles to get off to a good start. They get off to a slow start. They could be playing from behind. Although we saw it in the Snow Bowl, they came from behind through the run game. So the weather, like I said, they still a couple hours before they can get an accurate picture. And it's one of those coastal storms that a couple miles this way or that way can mean the difference between 2 to 4 inches of snow. So we'll continue to monitor that for tomorrow. And again, I feel like my nose is so stuffy right now, so I do apologize for the sniffing as well as just the raspiness of my voice. But that does lead to today's question of the day. Does the snow concern you for tomorrow? It definitely is going to impact the game one way or the other, but from an Eagles perspective, does it concern you? 267-495-8531, that'll get you in. I was starting to feel good about this game, but then the snow, there's always that added sort of, it's going to be a closer game now, which kind of changes what my expectations on the final pick are. But what do you think? Hit me up on the Back to the Future voice and text line. Send me a text. Leave a voicemail. Does the snow concern you for the game tomorrow? All right, it does look like the Eagles are going to be healthy, though. A.J. Brown, Dallas Goedert, both off of the injury report and, in practice yesterday. And they're about as healthy as what you could be going into a divisional playoff. Yes, they're a little banged up, but at this point of the year, everyone is. So, like I said, they're about as healthy as you can get heading into this game. The other story was Jared Verse. Was asked about Eagles fans because he went to high school here for a couple years. Said, I hate Eagles fans. I get fired up when I see green and white. He was upset about being cursed out the last time the Eagles and Rams played. Now, ironically about that, he was getting cursed out by Eagles fans who took over the stadium for a Rams home game. I think you better be more concerned about that than Eagles fans. Not that Eagles fans need any extra reason to get fired up for this game, but I just thought that was interesting and something to kind of keep in mind. And it's been over 11 years or so at this point since the Snow Bowl. I kind of remember the snow sort of dampening the crowd. I could be wrong on this. Could have just been enjoying the snow, but that's something to kind of keep an eye on as well. But here's a stat. I talked yesterday about hearing all the stats and trends and this and that and the other. And the Eagles are 6-0 all time in home divisional playoff games. So you got to like that stat. Hopefully that trend continues. But at this point, between the snow, the trends, Jared Verse, talking about Kellen Moore, I'm ready for this game. Just get me down to the link tomorrow and let's get this game underway. But we will have more on the Eagles-Rams, including the 3 keys tomorrow. And again, KeyBank, any car dealership out there, you want to sponsor that, you know where to find me. But let me know your thoughts on the snow. Are you concerned about the snow for the game tomorrow? 267-495-8531. That'll get you in. That's the Back to the Future voice and text line. All right, today, got a little bit of a disappointing doubleheader. And January 18th has not been a good day historically for the Eagles, specifically in the NFC Championship game. First, we're going to go back to 2004, and on this day in 2004 was the 2003 NFC Championship game. The Eagles lost to the Panthers 14-3. Many people will point to Donovan McNabb's poor play, throwing 3 interceptions, all to Ricky Manning Jr., but I will still stand by this, and this is a hill I'm willing to die on. That game hinged on a cheap shot play that McNabb suffered in the second quarter. Take a look for yourself. It was a cheap shot. You can't hear the whistle, but there's no way that dude should have came in. He suffered a rib injury and then literally just couldn't function the rest of the game as he was in pain. It was the 3rd straight NFC Championship game loss to the Eagles, but it did highlight the need for the Eagles to go out and get a big-name wide receiver in the name of Terrell Owens. And then in 2009, it was the 2008 NFC Championship game. Eagles lost to the Cardinals 32-25 in a game of missed opportunities. David Akers missed a field goal, some missed plays on defense. They were down 24-6 at halftime in this game. And then Donovan led the Eagles back and gave them the lead on this pass here to Deshaun Jackson, but the defense couldn't hold on. There was a questionable pass interference call late in the game on 4th down on Kevin Curtis. Unfortunately, that was not called. The defense couldn't hold, and the Eagles lose to the Cardinals 32-25. And this was the last time that the Eagles made the NFC Championship game with Donovan at quarterback and Andy Reid as head coach. So January 18th, not good for the Eagles in the NFC Championship game. In 2004, they lost to the Panthers 14-3. And then in 2009, they lost to the Cardinals 32-25. All right, finally today, we're going to continue our forgiveness for the new year. And today, we're forgiving Markelle Fultz. Hopefully, this will bring some good karma and get that negativity surrounding the Sixers off of our backs. Markelle was the number one pick in 2017, was the consensus overall pick. However, I still feel as though the Sixers were duped. Danny Ainge 100% duped them into swapping the third pick for the first pick. We took Markelle Fultz. The Celtics ended up with Jason Tatum and now have won a championship. But Markelle, this is another one that's not totally his fault, at least not 100% his fault. Came into it. He was a highly touted coming out of Washington, and it was supposed to be our own young big three. Supposed to be Joe, Ben, and Markelle were supposed to lead us. The process was finally paying off. But then the shoulder injury, some questioned whether it was real, something in his head. He simply just forgot how to shoot. There was some damage or whatever in his shoulder. Never really got it going for the Sixers. Traded to Orlando. I don't think he's on a roster this year, but played decent. Never returned to being the shooter he was. And it just was a wasted number one pick. And, of course, the stinking Celtics got Jason Tatum out of it, and we all know how that worked out. So today, Markelle, I'm going to forgive you for being a draft bust. I'm going to forgive you for the injury, whether it was real or imaginary. I'm going to forgive you for not being Jason Tatum. That, again, is just not your fault. This is the Colangelo thing. And, again, as annoying, as frustrating as it is, we already forgave the Colangelo family. So it's only fair that we also forgive Markelle Fultz for his role in this. First it was Fultz, then it was Ben, and now Joe's completely falling apart. The whole process is literally crumbling before our eyes. But I trusted that process from the very beginning, slowly losing my trust in that. But it's about Markelle Fultz today. Markelle, I forgive you for being a draft bust and not living up to the hype of being the number one overall pick. On this day in 2004, Eagles lost to the Panthers 14-3 in the NFC Championship game. 5 years later, in 2009, they lost to the Cardinals 32-25 out in Arizona in a game which will go to my grave saying they should have won that game. Donovan did what he needed to do. He left the field, turned it over to the defense with the lead, and the defense could not hold it down. And then in that Panthers game, it was all about the cheap shot rib injuries. And for those of you who are listening, you can look up those plays, but I do on my clips on social media. I have the clips there so you can judge for yourself. We'll have more on the Eagles Rams game tomorrow, including the latest weather forecast and the 3 keys to the game as the Eagles look to punch their ticket to the NFC Championship game. We will be rooting for Washington tonight because I would love to have a home NFC Championship game next week. That game, I believe, is the night game. I think Kansas City is first, so we'll have an update on that as well. Let me know how big of a concern you feel the snow is for tomorrow. 267-495-8531. That'll get you in. Be sure to check out my boys at the Clashing Conferences podcast, doing great things with their fan network. Go to Philly Goat, do some shopping, use the promo code Jim Montgomery to take 10% off your order, and just play around on the website. They have all kinds of stuff. Try the coffee, buy a hat, buy a hoodie. You're good to go, but just be sure to use that promo code Jim Montgomery to take 10% off of your order. And then buy Girl Scout cookies from Ella. You're going to buy them anyway. Buy them from Ella. This has been This Day in Philly Sports History for January 18th, 2025. My name is Jim Montgomery. Go have yourselves a Saturday. And until next time, I'll see you when I see you.